It's been 3 weeks since I've given you a real good garden tour, so let's go check it out. If the boys were here, I'd have them tell you they've already tried or sampled a couple blueberries. They're not here right now. They actually went on the river with their daddy. They went whitewater rafting today. But let me show you the little berries that they've been eating. So the boys have been coming out here, and about once every 2 days there is a blueberry or two that is ripe. Actually, I don't think they're quite ripe. They just take them as soon as they turn blue. So we'll have to go over the lesson of when exactly the right time is to pick a blueberry. Okay, here we are inside the garden. Almost all the mulching is done. The wood chip walkways are all done, and I need to get a little bit more hay for the corn, and we'll be done with all that. So, looking right over here, we have onions and sunflowers. So the first one we're gonna really take a good look at is this dwarf sunflower from M.I. Gardener. So if you look right here, it's my first one getting ready to bust out here, but it has 7 blooms on it. There's 1, 2, turn this around a little bit so I can get down here, 3, 4, there's a little one down there, 5, 6, one over here that's kind of hiding, 7. On this little dwarf sunflower, there's 7 blooms. Pretty cool. Here is another one that's about ready to open up for me. And then the other one down there at the bottom, at the end of this row, it's not looking real good. It looks a little straggly, but it seems like it gets hit hardest with the pests. The slugs move in from that tall grass back there, and it's the first to really get eaten up. I've treated with slug bait, but it's just been a battle. Before we get to the tomatoes, you guys have to check out this marigold. The kids at my school that I work at planted these in their greenhouse and sold them, and they are beautiful. Talk about lots of blossoms on here. I've just never seen a marigold that pretty. Anyway, so here's some tomatoes. There's a volunteer. There's one of my winter sown tomatoes and another volunteer. I'm leaving the volunteers there for now. We're just gonna see what happens. More tomatoes, a basil that came back. And hopefully as the tomatoes come in, I'll be able to tell you what kind they are, because right now I only know what this one is. This is a Kellogg's Breakfast, which I showed you guys last time on the way out, kind of teased you a little bit. It's already gotten bigger from yesterday. Pretty cool. So this is a Kellogg's Breakfast, and it will be big and beautiful and hopefully give me lots of orange fruit. And then there is another tomato that has set fruit. It's down here on the end. So he's pretty cute too. My borage that's self-seeded is much bigger. It's dealing with some pest damage, but hopefully it will pull through and blossom here soon. Here is another row of my winter sown tomatoes. Some of them are still struggling, they're still small, but most of them actually look beautiful. And when I watched that video that I did 3 weeks ago, guys, they were so small. They were tiny. Some of them were sticks. I did lose a few, and I planted a couple more that I had sown again in the milk jug. So this one down here is the sucker that I planted not too long ago and showed you guys how to do that, and the tomatoes tips and tricks. And it looks like it's starting to take, it's starting to perk back up. Some of these leaves I'll have to cut off, but I was just leaving it on there for now. Here is the other sucker that I planted. It's doing a little bit better, and that was from the Kellogg's Breakfast. I'm really excited about that. So this side of the trellis was the ones that we planted 2 weeks later. So they are not as hardy as what you just saw. And look, here's the guy that I tried to help out the other day. I told you guys that wasn't looking good. Look at that new growth. Green, and some more green stuff coming there. He looks really good. Love those Carolina Golds. Down here, this one's coming back. My early girl, I have some new green growth on top. Some more tomatoes here that are smaller. It'll be exciting to see how fast they grow in the next week or two with the warm temps that we're having. Alright y'all, this side of the trellis is not looking so hot. None of the beans on this side have gripped on yet. One is getting close. This is my only pole bean that is even close to latching on. Down here my cucumbers have. They have struggled. They've had yellow leaves. A lot of time they've been sitting in water. I've lost about 6 cucumbers and I have 6, 7, 8, 9 left, I think. This is the Muncher cucumber from Baker Creek, and this is the one that I put in the ground and then I put that cup over top of it because I planted it pretty early, and it looks very healthy. You can tell the difference between these two leaves here. This one I got from a local greenhouse. I had great success with this kind last year. This is a burpless kind, but they are not liking all this water they've had lately. So this side of the trellis is doing a little bit better. There's quite a few beans that have caught on. A yard-long bean and then 2 yard-long beans, and then my scarlet runner bean down here, which is such a statement over here. This red is beautiful. Some of my other beans are still pretty yellow, still pretty small. I've actually just sowed some more again for the 4th time. Here is a cucumber and a couple more. I'm starting to see some, look at this guy right here, bad dude right here. This cucumber beetle, he needs to go away. This guy is a nasty little pest that can pass blight. So I do need to, I've picked a few off. I sprayed neem oil last year, but I'm trying not to do that this year. I was hoping with releasing the praying mantises and stuff, I wouldn't have to do that. But we shall see. I'll have to keep an eye on it. So there's a cucumber, looks lovely. Oh, I see another cucumber beetle. And there's a cucumber down there. We've got lots of flowers. I've been seeing honeybee activity out here. Here's another muncher down here. Let's take a look at the corn. So the first 4 rows are the ones that we planted fairly early, and I actually just finished mulching them. I think they look great. Doesn't that hay look nice? Notice at the bottom their leaves are turning yellow. I did hit them with a little bit more nitrogen yesterday. My next 4 rows I have not been able to mulch yet. They are not quite as big, but they are growing. And then our last 6 rows are the ones that we did the video for, the Secret to Great Corn. And they're doing what they need to do too. We've had some bird action. Some birds came and stole some seeds after they germinated. So we are trying to watch that. Oh, and look, there's 2 more tomatoes. By the way, I have tomatoes everywhere. You're just gonna see them randomly everywhere. There's 2 tomatoes there, planted in the same hole. 2 tomatoes over there, planted in the same hole. We'll see how they do. I'm gonna keep them single stem so I can do that. All 3 of my bushes have peppers on them, so I'll be excited about making some salsa later. Down here, I do have hot banana peppers coming. See that right there? Now, these are all peppers that I got from the greenhouse. My winter sown peppers are not producing. They are being so slow. However, they did get frostbite, and peppers don't like that, and they haven't liked all this water. So we'll see what happens with them next. All right, it's time to walk down to the second trellis, second and third trellis. It's a little bit smaller down here. Have my cantaloupes that are faring pretty well despite all this rain. Some watermelon. Oh look, 2 tomatoes. My honeyboat squash is looking good. We're going to train it to climb when it's ready. Spaghetti squash has grown quite a bit since I planted it. And oh look, there's a tomato. Another tomato. Some more spaghetti squash. And another honeyboat that we've already started to train to go up. So you see how it has these little tendrils? So anything that has these little tendrils you can train to climb up a trellis, including things like squash. Not everyone knows that you can do that. You just think you have to let it vine and go everywhere, all over the ground, but you really don't have to. As it's not quite ready to do that yet. As the fruit gets bigger, however, we will need to support it, and we'll be talking about that in a future video. So spaghetti squash has those vines, and so do these honeyboat winter squash. There's a tomato. There is my teeny tiny watermelon that I've had for the longest time, and it stayed that size. So I don't know what's going on with him. Here's a couple that I just planted, and then I planted another one there because that one rotted. And then my yellow doll over here is not looking so hot. But it'll be okay because I have a backup plan for my melons. Look how much better my watermelons are doing in the hay bale raised bed. So much better than the ones in the garden, which are pretty much doing nothing. So we'll definitely have to keep that in mind next year whenever we plan where we're going to put the melons. I can't believe how much the summer squash has grown just in the last few days. I just planted it a couple days ago. So we actually have these labeled yellow crookneck over here, and then I have some black beauty squash over here. I ended up putting 4 in this hill. I may regret that later, but I can always take the weakest one out or whatever. But that was how many that were in my milk jug, so I just went ahead and planted the whole milk jug. So I didn't have to separate out and mess with their roots, because squash do not like any root disturbance. Here is some more squash. I have an Italian squash back here and a golden zucchini. Oh, I love golden zucchini. It's one of my favorite things I grew last year. So here's just kind of a view of what it looks like in here. It's going to be neat to see this all grow up. Before long, it'll look like a jungle. This jack-o'-lantern sure has grown a lot since I first planted it. It was planted when it had frost damaged leaves as well. So this Long Island cheese pumpkin has exploded, absolutely exploded. Every time I come out here every day, it's just grown, I feel like 5 more inches. And let me show you the cool thing about this. This stem down here is massive. It's just thick, very thick walled stem. I found that interesting. It just started putting on flowers. Oh, I see something. Oh, I see a baby. If I can get down in there so you guys can see it. Oh, that's so exciting. So we'll find out shortly if that was pollinated or not. But if so, that's gonna be my first pumpkin of the season. Yay. So the potato patch is doing awesome. Really, I'm so impressed. We fed twice with seaweed and fish and seaweed fertilizer. But other than that, we have done nothing. So I'm pretty excited to see how well they are doing. So the other day, Lowe's had their potatoes on sale for $1. So we couldn't just walk by. So we picked them up and we threw them under some wood chips. And actually today is the first time. I don't know if you guys can see that right there. They're coming up. Be interesting to see how well they do with the wood chips versus the hay. I'll keep you posted on that. Thank y'all for hanging out with me tonight and checking out the garden. I want to say thank you also to all of our new subscribers. We've just really grown a lot the last few weeks, and we want to say thank you to everyone who's sharing or subscribing. We appreciate it so much. When we hit 100, we're going to have a special surprise. So y'all stay tuned, and of course, y'all come back.